Hey, what's up everybody, Agamonsters today. Today we're going to be taking a look at all the bells and putting them in a tier list and deciding, what's the best, what's the worst, and what's in between. These are going to be the normal bells only. We're probably going to do corrupted bells in a later video, but we'll see about it. Just to know, all the corrupted bells effects have been nerfed quite a bit. For example, my run it back corrupted bell used to be 20 seconds of iframes and now it's 12 seconds. So it's been reduced quite considerably. However, the downsides of the corrupted bells also have been nerfed, but my point is just to show that it probably won't look that much different from this list, but we'll see. So starting off, we're going to take a look at the gate bell. So this is basically like, you basically place a spot where you want to gate to, and you're able to basically gate to that location in a little AoE, so anybody else that's in that AoE also gets teleport, and that includes mobs as well. It's really good for ganking in my opinion, and I would definitely put it in S tier because honestly it's really good because if you really don't want to travel by boat, for example, to go somewhere, you can just instantly gate there. And I've seen a lot of creative uses with it as well. Like for example, someone was ganking Arisia or Etria, mind you, and basically he would just open up his little gate bell AoE. Somebody would walk in and he would gate to basically where the king was, and it would insta kill the guys he was ganking, and he would still get the luck. So just because of things like that, I'm definitely putting this in S tier. Next up we have Kamui. The thing about Kamui I like is that it's just super cool to use, and it's really useful because your whole team can basically just basically just go anywhere they want to, and it's very useful in the fact that it's really not that there's really no downsides to having it besides no combat ability that you gain from getting this bell. But again, it's S tier in terms of SS plus tier in terms of mobility. It's actually insane. You can basically go into another dimension, just go anywhere you want to. So definitely putting that in S tier as well. These are probably the bells people want the most. Next, we're going to take a look at Run It Back. Honestly, I have Run It Back, but that's the corrupted version, and even then the corrupted versions of bells got nerfed. But even the regular one is it's just C tier in my opinion, because a lot of times when you're using your Run It Back bell, you can just disengage the person using the bell and not have to fight them. It's really not that hard to not fight someone and not take damage in this game. You can just kind of run, parry, and wait for that cooldown to basically end. And yeah, basically their Run It Back bell will be over, and you can just start attacking them again. However, I will give it C tier just because of the fact that you still get basically invincibility frames for that duration. And it can be useful for a couple of things, but dude, 5 seconds, is that really gonna help you that much? That's all I'm gonna have to say about that. Next, we have Crazy Slots. Crazy Slots is definitely a solid B tier, even though you can get cucked a little bit. For example, let's just say you have a hero sword build, right, and you don't have anything in your weapon stats. That could definitely cuck you if you get Crazy Slots. However, if you just have 100 in any stat, it can be really good to land on those weapons that you have 100 in, because the scaling and the damage is really nice for each of the weapons, and they also have their own unique abilities, which is also pretty cool. So honestly, I don't really mind Crazy Slots that much at all. I think it's possibly really good, especially if you have enchants. Probably one of the best you can get if you have a really solid enchant, because it could apply those enchants to those divine weapons. So I think it could definitely move up a tier if you do have an enchant, but for now I'm putting it in B. Next up, we're going to be taking a look at Wind Up. Wind Up bell, honestly, I'm gonna have to give it a solid C tier. It's really good with heavy weapons, but at the same time, the thing is you actually have to land it in order for it to obviously do the little explosion. And if they parry your little wind up hit once, it not only you're gonna get a bunch of posture, but you're gonna have to wind up again, and winding up in combat makes you vulnerable to getting hit. So it just really depends on how you use it. If you run around and then wind up and shit like that, okay, but at the same time, it's just let's just say you're running dagger or a gun, you see what I'm saying, stuff like that. Even though you're more likely to probably land those M1s, you're not going to be doing as much damage as someone who has an Enforcer X, for example, and even then it's difficult to land a hit. So honestly, I'm going to put it at a solid C tier. It can still do a good amount of damage, but it's not really the best for every single build in my opinion. Now we have the Yorubel, definitely giving this a B tier. Honestly, Yorubel is just very solid. I mean, you basically go invisible, you can go around for move fast for a bit. It's honestly really useful for saving your teammates that get knocked, for example, and getting away. If you're in a tight spot and you have to get away, you can use that as well. Now I know they nerfed it to where it takes a lot longer to get into it if you're low, but even in those types of situations, if you do manage to get away, it can be hella useful to like get away, for example, and pop like a few potions and then come back into the fight. Just stuff like that, for example, makes it, I think, one of like the more flexible bells for your builds, and it can go nicely pretty much with like any build, which is also really nice. So I'm definitely putting it at B tier. Now we have Reaper. Reaper is honestly a very high A tier for me. It is so incredibly useful for like boss raiding, for example. Let's just say you're fighting multiple people, you knock one of them. Most of the time, their partners are going to pick them back up, or they're going to like stay on the ground until they get back up, because you can't really deal with them due to the fact that the other teammates are on you. However, if you have the Reaper bell, you are to be feared if you get knocked, or if they get knocked, because like you can just instantly grip them and get health back from it as well. So it's super helpful. Let's just say you already used your one-time use like health pack that you get off when you knock someone, and then you knock them again, you can get another health pack just by gripping them. So shit like that is just really useful. So I'm definitely giving it a solid A tier. Next we have Soul Jar. Honestly, Soul Jar is going to probably be the only D tier for me. Soul Jar, the thing about Soul Jar is that you have to make sure that you can actually land the move. Like the normal Soul Jar damage is not the best. I don't know if they buffed it or nerfed it, but last time I checked, when I tested it with like a full Soul Jar with like 6 souls, I only did like 26% to someone's health. Now a lot of you guys might be thinking, oh, 26, that's like kind of crazy, I mean, like, oh, that's 26 free damage. It ignores armor as well, but you have to have like max souls due to the fact that it's only like a one-time use in most fights. Like if you're fighting multiple people, unless you're able to grip them, or you're at like Arisia where you can find human NPCs, because I don't think it work on monsters, you're not really going to be able to use your bell more than once in a fight, and then you're just basically bellless. So yeah, you get that one-time use, but then you're just bellless for like the rest of the fight. And so that's why I think it's honestly the worst bell in the game. It's definitely D tier in my opinion. Now we have Sacred Field. Sacred Field can go from being like an A tier if you have like a nice, very big, also like no damage at all type Sacred Field that lasts a good bit, to like a very small circle that lasts like a couple seconds, which the picture of this bell is actually where that clip is from, where literally the dude actually like uses the bell and it lasts for like a couple seconds and it's super small. So it can go from like A to be like D tier. So it's honestly like in between any of these. It's like depending on what you get because of all the variations and shit like that, which I don't really like. The variations can really like drag it down. Like if you get the no mantra damage one, that's definitely like D tier in my opinion. But again, it can be very, very useful if you just get like the no damage whatsoever, big size, nice like time, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'm just gonna put it at like A to D tier. You just kind of rank it depending on how you get it. Finally, you have the counter bell, definitely giving it a high B tier, probably like the best on the list for B tier. Honestly, if it's not tarnished, it can like be really useful, because like let's just say your opponent is about to hit you with like a very obvious move like Shadow Meteor, you can use that and that's free damage on your opponent. Now if you get the laser one, honestly the laser one is why I'm putting it in like this tier, because like honestly the laser one is like C tier probably, because you can like, I'm pretty sure you can parry and block the laser, but like the regular one where it's just like it reflects the damage, definitely like an A tier. But to balance it out, I'm just gonna put it in B tier because it really depends on what you get. But other than that, I think that's going to be really all for this video, guys. Let me know what your thoughts about these these placements are. You can honestly like move a couple of them up or down depending on like what you think about it, or like if it works with your build. But these are just like in general, and including all the variations are on like where I think they are. And yeah, that'll be all for this video, guys. So let me know if you guys want a corrupted bell tier list, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.